Historically, traditional medicine has been frowned on by some Western medical practitioners. While some swear by ancient practices, some cultural traditions have become increasingly dangerous. This year, more than 20 young men have died after undergoing traditional circumcision. Despite these challenges, most black South Africans subscribe to African traditional healing. And in the studio with us, we've got Nokulinda Mkhize, who is a traditional healer. And of course, this is something we're looking at now because it is Heritage Month this month. Nokulinda, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You look very young to me, I must say that.
I'm 28. Okay. Not that young.
I didn't ask for your age, but how come a young person is a traditional healer? Normally, when people look at traditional healers, we see these older people, adults.
Well, I think that it's not that I'm young and that it's a surprise that I'm a traditional healer at 28. I think the fact is that people expect and have the stereotype that Isangoma will be an old woman in a hat somewhere with no shoes and that kind of thing. And unfortunately, this is not the case. And, time flies and people grow up and those kind of things happen. And people do become Isangoma quite young, actually.
Okay. I'll come back to that a bit later. It's Heritage Month. Traditional healing in South Africa forms part of cultural practices. It's part of our heritage. Is it still relevant?
It is still relevant, even though, of course, there is this understanding that the more modern we are, the less likely we are to, stick to our cultural and traditional practices. But if you look at the number of Isangoma out there, and if we admit to ourselves also as black people, we still do practice those things, even if we do it quietly or in secret.
Yeah. I grew up in a family that has got traditional healers. My grandfather was one, and my father was trained in that, but he never picked it up because he embraced Christianity. So a lot of Africans, as you say, have been exposed at one time or another to traditional healing. Now, it is Heritage Month, and one of the issues we're concerned about is safety. And some people say, but traditional medicine is not safe or it's not clean. How do you respond to that?
It's a difficult one because, of course, as times change, so do practices. And we need to look at the reality of the black experience and say, what is it about our society and our communities and our cultures that causes these practices to be unsafe? Not that it's the practice that's bad, but we need to look at the context in which we are practicing and the conditions under which people are forced to maybe express their cultural identities. And that was maybe the problem. Okay,
would you advocate for more collaboration between traditional medicine and modern medicine in the South African health sector today?
I would, because there is a huge discrepancy between what people are supposed to be doing, as in going to the clinics and listening to doctors, and what they actually do, which is going to Izangoma and going to Abatandazi. And if there were more of a collaboration between the Western and the traditional, I think that we could curb a lot of issues and we could really start to address some of the more pressing social and health issues that we're facing as a country.
Okay, let's come back to you. How did you end up as a traditional healer?
Just like everybody ends up as a traditional healer. You're born with the calling, it becomes apparent at some point, you go and you twasa.
Okay, it's a calling.
Yes.
And your parents have to support you through that. Did your parents support you through that?
My parents were very supportive through it. Some people have problems because, as you said, when people embrace Christianity, they tend to, make this dichotomy between Christian belief and traditional African belief, and they can't reconcile the two. So there is a bit of a conflict in places, but not in my family.
Now, before you got the calling, as you say, what were you doing?
I was modeling, and I was at varsity.
You were modeling?
Yes.
Okay, were you modeling for fashion things?
Yeah, I was a fashion...
cosmetics, clothes, or what?
I was a fashion model. Mostly ramp, and then I was also a university student. So after I finished my last exam, I went straight to Twasa.
I haven't heard of a model who's become it's a first for me, but it's a wonderful story. Your friends around you at the time, the people you're working with, were they surprised?
Well, no, not really, because it had been something that had been building up over some time. So by the time I went to Twasa, my very close friends and my family were aware of what was going on. So it wasn't a surprise and it didn't come as a shock.
And you embrace it yourself?
Yes, I do.
You're very open. Where do you practice?
I practice from home.
Okay,
but I'm on a break at the moment because I'm pregnant, but I am running workshops because people do have an interest in these traditional kind of knowledge systems, and that I run workshops to dispel myths and answer questions and kind of give insights that people wouldn't normally get in a way that they understand, from a contemporary understanding, but with traditional insights.
Are your clients still predominantly black?
It's a split. I think I have about 60% black clients and 40% other races.
Okay, what is your message to South African traditional healers today as we mark Heritage Month about the way it's future? Because some of them don't behave properly, you must agree.
Well, humans don't behave properly anyway. It's not just Izangoma. My only message would be that just keep doing what you're doing. You know, it's necessary, it's vital, and don't let anybody tell you, you know, you're wrong or you're evil or whatever, you know. But I mean, I'm not a motivational speaker. People must just work. That's what we're here for.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's where we're going to have to leave it. That's traditional healer Nokulinda Mkhize.
News that moves. enca.com.